This is Dominick. Dominick works at a 5-star restaurant called the Pixel Palace. There, some of video games' most popular celebrities pop in to have a drink. Sometimes they share stories and even secrets. Because as we all know, what the bartender hears is confidential, isn't it?
So I'm sitting there tending bar when in walks one of the most famous customers, Mario. He comes in, sits down, orders a ragu sunshine daiquiri. Only he didn't look himself. He looked very down the dumps. So I asked him, I said, "Mr. M, what's with the long face?" He says, "Trouble with the missus." I said, "Peach?" And he says, "No, Donkey Kong, yes, Peach." So I says, "Do tell, lay it on me." And he says, "Well, it's, cleaning the pipes, if you know what I mean." I said, No, I don't know what you mean." And he says, "Trouble in the bedroom." I says, "You have problem plumbing in the bedroom? You have a waterbed or something?" And he says, "Sex, I'm talking about sex." I go, "Oh, yes." On the nose. So, I'll ask him, I'll say, "Oh, you got a problem getting a 1-up?" He says, "Hey." I'll say, "Nail and the Hammer Brothers?" He goes, "Huh?" I'll say, "Hitting the warp zone?" And he goes, "Hey," and I say, "Daffy, bastard, I'm talking about an erection." And he goes, "Oh, no, I got special fungus for that, eat it, you grow like 10 times your size, so, there's no problem with that." Yeah, after that we decided to lay off the innuendos, and just they weren't coming across and seem a bit childish. So I ask him, I says, "Well, what's the problem then?" He says, "I told you, the missus." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, so wasn't listening." I'll say, "I'm not getting my tip, am I?" He says, No, you're not." He's a sly one. Dago twin. And I says, "Alright, what's wrong with her then?" He says, "Well, she's just into really, really weird stuff." And I go, "Oh, you like midgets or something?" And he goes, No, God, no, half a kingdom is mushroom midgets. I mean, she doesn't want any of that. I mean, like, really, really out there stuff." And I'm like, "What, scheisse or something?" And he goes, "No, God, that's bleeding disgusting." And I'll say, "Like what then?" And he says, "Well, like chains and collars and whips, dressing up like dragons." I go, "Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Dressing up like dragons?" "Well, it's kind of a long story," he says, "but bottom line, she's been kidnapped like umpteen bajillion times, and after a while, she began to enjoy it. Like, really get into it." And I says, "What do you mean?" And he says, "What do I mean? I mean Super Mario Brothers Stockholm Syndrome, that's what I mean." At first it starts off very simple, like saying mean things very nastily, like, "Your kingdom is mine, no one can hear you scream, Mario's never gonna save you," which is odd seeing how I'm freaking Mario. I mean, who am I saving her from then, myself? He told me he started to lose her when she started requesting the cage. I mean, I'm into all sorts of weird stuff, he says, but this is just flat out poste majour. So she wants to be trussed up in a cage while I dress up like a dragon. That's borderline bestiality. And then she wants me to breathe fire? You serious? I mean, those flowers are fine and dandy, but do you know how much halitosis one gets? Or the heartburn? Mamma mia, he says, I have to go through 15,000 packs of my lantern so my throat doesn't feel hotter than a Mexican's anus. And I says to him, I say, "Well, seems like you're in a bit of a Barney." He goes, "What's a Barney?" I'll say, Barney Rubble, Barney Trouble, it's Big Trouble. And he says, "Why don't you say Big Trouble?" And I said, "I don't know, it's a Cockney thing, it's just how I talk. I'm sure you say stupid things all the time." And he says, No, I never say stupid things." I'm like, "Oh yeah, this Italian plumber, imagine, never says anything stupid." So he gets a bit angry, I apologize. I say, just sometimes I ramble on, kind of like those pipe mazes, in the levels he's been in, they just go round and round and all that stuff, so... Where was I? Oh yeah, his wife's a kinky slut. So anyway, this all comes to a head after a particularly long bout of erotic Italian mushroom lovemaking. So he's got the cage, he's got the chains, he even got one of his servants Toad to dress up like Bowser for him so he didn't have to. Of course, Toad is a small bloke, so this was starting to look like a David Lynch Dr. Monroe experiment. But when she wanted him to go through the 8 levels of lava-soaked dungeons and whirling fire chains, that's when he drew the line. And drew it he did. drew it all the way to the Pixel Palace. She's probably still up there right now, waiting for someone to save her. Let the little peach roll, he says. In fact, she might even give Bowser a call. Have him come over to see her trussed up in a cage with a smaller version of him standing guard. I'd like for him to figure that one out. So I asked him, I said, well, what are you going to do? Well, he says, I'm going to have 5 more ragu daiquiris. I'm just going to let nature take its course. The artist drinks, walked out. It's the last I ever saw of him. Hopefully. You see a lot of strange things at the Pixel Palace. You see a lot of strange things as a bartender. So, I'll see a lot of strange things as a bartender at the Pixel Palace. And that ain't no lie. Swear to it.